Good day, friends. Paul here, and welcome to another exciting installment of Alcohol Abstinence, Art and Literature Through the Years. In 1939's Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book, Chapter 11, A Vision for You, Bill Wilson references King Alcohol. A really cool, vivid paragraph here. The less people tolerated us, the more we withdrew from society, from life itself. As we became subjects of King Alcohol, shivering denizens of his mad realm, the chilling vapor that is loneliness settled down. It thickened, ever becoming blacker. Some of us sought out sordid places, hoping to find understanding, companionship, and approval. Momentarily, we did. Then would come oblivion and the awful awakening to face the hideous four horsemen of the Revelations. Terror, bewilderment, frustration, despair. Unhappy drinkers who read this page will understand. This literary trope or device of King Alcohol was not invented by Bill Wilson, far from it. King Alcohol was referenced nearly 100 years earlier, guys, in the temperance movement. Here's a book called King Alcohol Dethroned, published in 1917 on the eve of Prohibition in the United States. I'll probably be reviewing that book in the future. And this other book I've been reading, King Alcohol, is referenced as early as 1842 in a couple narratives from Drunkard's Progress, Narratives of Addiction, Despair, and Recovery by Professor John W. Crowley. This is a great book, and I may be reviewing some of that as well. But suffice to say that King Alcohol was around long before Bill Wilson wrote that very descriptive paragraph referencing the king. This is an engraving published by John Warner Barber, a Connecticut engraver who lived from 1798 to 1885. King Alcohol and his prime minister. Well, first of all, that's King Alcohol, and his prime minister is Death, a skeleton with a bottle. So that's how we establish that. Alcohol and death are seen in the central part. The social, the confirmed and moderate drinker, together with the suicide and murderous fighter on the left. Hope with her broken anchor mourns in sackcloth on the right. The dead and drunken, the beggared wife and children, the ruined cottage, the jail, the drunkard's gravesite. So when we go through this image, you're going to see all of that stuff that was just referenced in the caption. The jail, the begging woman and children, the fighting with knives down here. So here's King Alcohol with a goblet with a snake wrapped around it, referencing Proverbs 23:32. Now, we've seen this reference before in temperance literature. It's actually very popular, starting at 29. Who hath woe, who has sorrow, who has strife, etc. I've gone through this before, but the reference right there is this part. At the last it bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. And then your eyes will see strange things and your mind utter perverse things. So that's what we have going on there with that reference or allusion. And here's another reference that needs interpretation, where we have the dram shop where the fighting and the drinking's going on right here. Licensed by the civil authority, reposing special trust in, this indicates the book of Habakkuk 2:15. And that down here in the Bible is, alas for you who make your neighbors drink, pouring out your wrath or poison until they are drunk, in order to gaze on their nakedness. You will be sated with contempt instead of glory. Drink you yourself and stagger. Well, there's another interpretation for that word stagger, and it's to be uncircumcised or to show the foreskin. So the prophet Habakkuk was a prophet who lived, this was published apparently around 600 BC at the height of Babylonian power. And so he's saying there that the drunkard will also, like the neighbor that they got drunk, be naked and showing his foreskin, but that could also mean stagger. In other words, a pretty corrupt civil authority getting their neighbors drunk to reveal their nakedness and the provider's own nakedness. We're also referencing Psalm 94:20. In this psalm, the author mentions what a stronghold the Lord is, and then questions, can wicked rulers be allied with you, those who contrive mischief by statute? Well, there we go, Psalm 94:20. So this civil authority who's ostensibly dispensing of liquors is not allied with the Lord and is contriving mischief by statutes. So we all start with moderate drinkers. See, they're really in the background. They're lining up. Everybody's well dressed. Nobody's getting into trouble. But this is how everything starts, with the warnings of being a moderate drinker and the health consequences over time and how that can progress to a more serious disease. And Dr. Benjamin Rush was mentioning as much in 1784 when I was going over in that video. So then we lead up to social glass, having a nice time. Everybody's well dressed, standing up straight, smiling. We saw very similar in Currier and Ives' print of the 9 Steps of the Drunkard. Check out my whole playlist on this topic. I'll put a link in the description because I've got some really cool videos referencing a lot of this stuff that's already been discussed. We see similar themes from one work to another, basically. So in this scene here at the bar, we've got fighting going on. This guy's got a knife. So does this one. There's Hope with her broken anchor, symbolizing no hope left. 60,000 annually in the States, in the ground, dead. Now King Alcohol and the skeleton minister, the Grim Reaper, they're standing on barrels of strong beer, wines representing rum, gin, brandies, whiskey, and compounded or mixed liquors. Here we have inscribed poverty, misery, crime, death. Here's the jail. This is an interesting motif with the key. I read that like the key to the jail is alcohol. Or, of course, the key out of the jail. You got to get this key, but it's up on the roof. So I see it as the key into the jail is accessed through booze. The alms or poorhouse. We can see here some constables, police officers escorting people from the street to these avenues with their batons raised. More graves in the background. Here is the begging wife with her children. Notice the clothing. Attention is to detail is paid here in Mr. Barber's work. Really nicely done. The drunk father, presumably against the barrel with a bottle on the ground. Here we see people dying. There, it looks like a fresh grave right here. Maybe he's going to be going in there. And we have the broken down cottage here as referenced also in the description below, the ruined cottage. It was a really rich period in temperance movement, beginning in the 1840s when this stuff really starts taking shape as far as metaphors and repeated biblical passages and iconography and symbolism and visual works like this that were really ramping up in between the 1840s and the 1870s, especially, guys. There was a really rich 30-year period where so much groundwork was laid, culminating, of course, in prohibition from alcohol in the United States in 1920. Please post your comments below if you'd like to see me review something else in this genre of alcohol abstinence, art, and literature through the years. And if you're new here, please subscribe and share this with any of your friends who are both into history and the history of temperance, prohibition, or even just substance abuse, as it still wreaks havoc in our society. Have a great day, friends.